The other China-related dimension is the considerable international debt that Maldives has, and there are fairly large number of reports which say that much of this debt is related to Chinese projects. And there is also an anticipation that from 2026 onwards, there is considerable repayment that comes into play. So what is your evaluation of this international debt that Maldives has, and what kind of impact it will have on the foreign policy of Maldives?
Okay, so there was a recent report in the Maldivian media. I think the World Bank or some multilateral organization made it clear that Maldives' debt to per capita debt has increased a lot. I think it's more than 115% right now, and which is quite a lot, right? But here's the thing: it's not just loans from China, but it's also loans from India and also loans from within, right? The domestic loans and the external loans. It's very subjective again in terms of interest rates that these countries provide, and the amount of guarantees that they get. So China has a history of offering loans on sovereign guarantees. Out of the 1.5 billion that's officially lended to Maldives, I think 600 million was just state to state, and around 900 million was on a private guarantee, on a state guarantee for this. Now, yes, in 2026 it has to repay, but also a lot of Indian projects have commenced in the meanwhile. A lot of Chinese projects have been on hold because of the India First policy and considering Indian sensitivities, but also a lot of Indian projects have come in, and there is a debt accumulation. And there is a concern on how to go ahead. From 2026, I think the debts that has to be repaid to India and China will be mounting up. And there is a major concern within PPM PNC on how they want to restructure and how they want to go ahead. Now, the matter is with India, India is relatively very easy on debt restructuring. India has been very benign when it comes to its smaller neighbors asking for some kind of debt restructuring or some kind of debt renegotiation, but China isn't. Right. And that, I think, is a major challenge when it comes to 2026 or the years that come after it. I think Maldives has already started a negotiation in terms of expressed its interest in debt restructuring with the Indian High Commissioner when he met Muizu. So this has been made clear. And I think India has been willing to do that. India is willing to do that. But China, on the other hand, nothing's been clear. Right. In terms of how they have done in Sri Lanka, the ruckus they have created in Sri Lanka, I think that's a major concern. Even today, they're not willing to give a debt restructure to Sri Lanka. And in fact, Sri Lanka has lost its first opportunity for the IMF review because China was still hesitant to go upon its debt restructuring. Now, that's probably a challenge that will come up to the Maldives as well. So how they will go ahead is something that they have to be aware of. I think they're also very conscious in terms of what has happened in Sri Lanka and what if the same scenario happens in the Maldives as well. Now, in terms of foreign policy, I think since India and China are kind of stakeholders here, I think Maldives will want to strike a balance. Again, as I said, there's a broader domestic ideological constraints that push Muizu to have a pro-China policy, but I think Muizu will also have to be sensitive on how to deal with this. Do you have to appease China consistently, which still doesn't provide you debt restructuring, or do you have to just be sensitive towards Indian interests and Indian concerns who are happy to restructure? So I think it's a broader question that he has to take a call on, and I don't think he would want to antagonize either parts, at least at this point in time. So let's see how the time says ahead, and if China offers a better deal, if it does in turn. So let's see.